Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Greg Thornton. I'm the Director of Client Partnership here at SSE. And while we are here this afternoon just to provide a little bit of information, I did want to let everybody know SSE Network Services is an outsourced IT support group here in St. Louis. We've been around for just over 30 years now, providing outsourced IT support to small and mid-sized businesses in the St. Louis metro area. We are a team of about 30 folks here that are dedicated to client support, client communication, technical alignment, just making sure that our customers are worried about their business processes and not about how their computers are operating and how their servers are functional and their backups. That said, Vince Seacrest is our VCIO. He is the Virtual Chief Information Officer. He's been at SSE for just shy of 20 years now. He is part of the original programming team that built up our program that does the monitoring, maintenance, and support processes for SSE, which now sits on top of our Kaseya agents. Vince is going to be discussing cybersecurity. It's something of a passion of his, helping the end user stay protected against the abundance of threats that are out there, as he will be able to show you here. With that said, Vince, I will pass off to you, and hope everybody enjoys the discussion. We do have question and answers that will be available, as well as our contact information at the end if you'd like any additional information or have questions that don't get addressed during our time today. Thank you all.
So, good afternoon. This is Vince Seacrest. Happy to be here today and talk with a lot of different folks that work with us, and hopefully some new folks. Our topic today really is cybersecurity and things that are going on there in the industry. Prepared a presentation that has a lot of good info. Unlike previous years where I'd have to search the internet for examples, we've had so many threats out there now, particularly email threats. A lot of the examples I'm going to show you today are actually highlighted from my own email box, so they'll be very practical examples. As we're going through, I really encourage you to ask any questions. Our goal is to really make you safer, and primarily we're going to do that through sharing information with you today. So with that, let's get started. Really 3 points we'd like to cover today. Number one, what's your data worth? I put that in there because consistently I talk to a lot of small business owners that say, why would someone want to break into my organization? Well, it's because they can make money from your information, and I'm going to show you a little slide that's kind of interesting to show you how much your information is actually worth. Next, we're going to move into the common risks, and these are the risks that our clients see. These are the common areas that our help desk is working in and day out, and spending a lot of time with our clients to keep them protected. So recognizing these 5 risks before they happen is going to give you the most information and ammunition to prevent the attack to begin with. And then finally, we're going to finish up with about 5 information security best practices. These are very practical, probably the top 5 things that we could recommend that'll save you a lot of time and headache as we move forward. I've got my little laser pointer that I'm going to try to use as we're going through and try to highlight some different key points as we're going through the presentation. So the first thing, let's talk a little bit about what your data is worth. First of all, on the internet black market out there, the sale of small medium business data is up to $1 trillion business now. They get your social security number, they can sell it for $1. Distributed denial of service attack. If you want to take down your competitor, you can hire an army of computers to attack your competitor's website for $7 an hour. You can see medical records, credit cards, bank information gets a lot of attention out there. Spam. If you get malware, they're sending out thousands of spam messages every day. They're going to need internet bandwidth. This is why computers get slow, they get attacked. They're using our client's bandwidth to send out spam. Custom exploits, Facebook. So just really, it's a volume business. Attackers send things out there en masse, and there will be some percentage of the user base that will click on items, and that's how these infections are actually happening. So let's go through and take a look at the number one risk. This risk, I really would like to highlight this. Ransomware is something we have seen a huge uptick in 2017. We've actually had 3 clients in one way or another click on ransomware. There are a couple different types out there. The most dangerous type is really the one that's going to, when you click it, it's going to go through and it's going to encrypt all of the data that you have access to. So if you happen to be on a network at work, for example, and you have a shared drive or you have a My Documents folder, all of the data that you have access to will be encrypted. You get the locker ransomware, you're going to be locked out of your computer, preventing access. The end result, though, is your data costs you a lot of money to create. It's being encrypted. You're blocked from accessing it. And at that particular point, people who are attacked with this particular type of vulnerability or risk is really either pay the company, and we've seen folks that actually did pay a ransom, and then 2 days later they're hit through the same attack. More likely than not, if you do get ransomware, it's going to take down your entire business, and your really only recovery point is looking at data backup, going to your backup. So making sure your data is backed up is probably going to be your best prevention technique. Next topic that is really on the uptick is social engineering. At a very high level, social engineering is leveraging the trust you have in another individual or person that you think you may be talking to electronically. Best example I could give you is, say a friend of yours gets infected, maybe their account gets compromised. What's the first thing the hacker is going to do? Hacker's going to take over the user's computer, go into their email, look at their contact list, and send a broadcast out to all of that particular person's email contacts. Now, as a result, if you happen to be the recipient of one of those emails, you're getting it from your friend, sister, coworker, brother-in-law. It leverages the trust in you. So if you get an email that says, hey, look at my new vacation pictures, and it comes from a family or friend, you are more likely going to click on it and open it. So this is really a huge threat. So we really want to focus on social engineering. Of course, the goal of this is to get access to your data. They do want to get access to your passwords, your critical financial information, and ideally get you to click on some software so that they can put a backdoor in your network and be able to come back in at their will. Third topic, social media sites. Normally, this is the point if I'm talking live to folks, is I ask, how many folks are using social media sites. A lot of folks are on Facebook. A lot of folks are on Twitter. It's not so much the Facebook itself, but it's the ads that are placed on Facebook. So these are all ads are all put in there from third-party vendors, and it's very easy to generate a pop-up. It's very easy to generate something that you're going to click on. Just realize that when this has happened in the past, 100 million people were infected. So be cautious of that as a third risk front. Next, probably right up there in the social engineering range is what we call phishing. Phishing is really what we're seeing as a targeted email attack. The scary statistic out there is if we send 10 emails to your organization, so if a hacker wants to get into your organization, they spend a little bit of time going to your website, do a little research on who a few of the folks are so they can generate some custom emails, do a couple Google searches to find out some of your clients. Sending 10 emails, there's better than a 90% chance of getting a click. So most of the time, companies can be hacked with simple emails. So everything that you're hearing about in the news, all these things that you hear about companies being hacked, the Democratic Party being hacked, that's all through phishing. That's folks that are sending out email and convincing people, hey, it's a family, it's a friend, it's a picture, it's something safe you can click on, and folks are going for that, and that's the fastest, easiest way in. Companies can spend any amount of money to protect a business. They can put in the best firewalls. They can put in the best antivirus. But if an end user opens the door, the front door or the back door, and lets the hacker in, there's really not much you can do about it. So this is really a huge risk, and we're going to talk about later some mitigation strategies. Next, public Wi-Fi. Again, I look around the room and I would generally ask, how many folks are out there using public Wi-Fi? Maybe you're going to the St. Louis Bread Company, going to Starbucks, using the Wi-Fi there. The big thing to remember is I can walk in, a hacker can walk in, and they can take a $100 piece of hardware known as a Wi-Fi pineapple. I can walk into any place that has public Wi-Fi, and I can turn it on, and I can say, for example, I'm going to name my Wi-Fi AT&T Wi-Fi. And when I turn it on and enable it, you walk into the building, you've got your laptop or maybe your mobile phone, and if you've previously connected to AT&T Wi-Fi, your device is dumb. It says, well, you previously trusted AT&T Wi-Fi. Here's AT&T Wi-Fi broadcasting, and your device will automatically connect. The challenge is if that AT&T Wi-Fi is not being provided by Starbucks or Bread Company, it's actually a hacker sitting next to you. That means that anything you type is not going through the regular internet, it's going through them. And that gives them the ability to be a man in the middle. And that means that anything you type essentially can be copied, can be archived and used later. So this is really a big threat area. We'll talk a little bit later about some mitigation tactics. Okay, now that you know some of the threats out there, let's talk a little bit about some best practices and what you could do to protect yourself. I will highlight really active examples and ask questions again throughout as we're going through. Okay, first thing we want to talk about is preventing phishing attempts. The biggest #1 thing I'd like to point out here at the top is remember, when a hacker breaks into someone's mail or breaks into someone's computer, typically the first thing they're going to do is send out that email blast all the hacker's contact. So if you get an email from a family or friend and it has a great picture or something and asks you to open it, rule to remember is do not assume that email is from the person in question. Remember that when the emails go out, they're going to try to leverage trust and curiosity. Hey, look at this fantastic vacation pic. Hey, look at this great deal that I just got at the local store. Or, hey, isn't this a pretty new item that I just got? In general, they're creating a compelling call to action, and they're using the fact that you think it's someone you know to open it. Look for other things, like, for example, responding to a question you never asked. I've gotten quite a few emails that'll say re:" and have some subject in it, and it'll start out in response to the question you asked. Here's the information, and oh, I attached it here as a PDF or another document. Just be careful. Do not trust that. Key things to look for is misspellings and typos, particularly when these are in email form, and I'll show you a few other examples. One of the biggest things they try to do on the ransomware side of the house is they try to create a call to action. So they'll maybe pop something up that looks very official, Internet Crime Complaint Center, and they're going to try to convince you that you've done something wrong, threat of prosecution. Again, this is to scare you, get you to take quick action without thinking about it. Just remember, the ransomware, if you accidentally click on this or open it, it's going to encrypt all your data and prevent you and everyone in your company from accessing any of that data. Again, this is the #1 threat that we're seeing out there today. Let's look at some other examples. Here's one. This is actually from my own email box. Just got this around Christmas time, and of course, look at you look at it as you would. Your Apple ID was used to sign in to FaceTime. So most folks, a lot of folks have an Apple phone. They're thinking, oh my gosh, someone has gotten my password. Well, what are the things that you can look for to not fall for this? Well, first of all, this is supposedly from Apple, but if you look here to the right at the address, you can see it's from Tire Reporter at racepunk.net. Clearly, that's not Apple. So if Apple's sending this, it's going to be coming typically from apple.com or an Apple-related domain. Second, if they sent this to you because your single account has been attacked, you're not going to see this bulk. Most spam protection programs, if email is sent out en masse, they'll add a little bulk to it. So watch for something like that. And then in the middle of the email, they're going to try to convince you that this is a legitimate email. So they're going to paste in your email address. They're going to say your Apple ID, and they're going to give you your email address. And this one looks like it's very simple. Looks like there's really no threat. All they've got here is learn more. Learn more. Well, actually, if you hover your mouse over learn more, don't click on it, just hover your mouse, you'll see a little pop-up like down here. And you'll notice that unlike this being a link to apple.com, this is going to www.jinfengsulio.com, and it's going to a PHP page. Obviously, this is not apple.com. So here is a simple email where through the address, through the bulk, through the hovering over, there were at least 3 indicators this was not a legitimate email. Other examples we can look at. Let's say, for example, you have a PayPal account. A lot of folks use PayPal for direct payments right out of their bank account. Here in this instance, this is money related. You get an email. It's from PayPal, supposedly announcing a new security enhancement. Again, you look at the top, and what do you see? Not from PayPal. It's from MessagePal. Well, that's not PayPal. You see bulk here again. Bulk tells you it was sent out to a whole bunch of folks. And then the real teller is if you come down here and you look at the link, and you look at the details of this link, you'll notice that here you've got pa.ypalpd.com. So what somebody did is they went and registered a domain, ypalpd.com. Again, that's not PayPal. So simply look at the .com, look there to the left. That's not PayPal. That's a copied domain. Somebody's created this out of the blue. So you had several indicators right here. Again, if you got something like this, my recommendation would be simply close this email, call PayPal, or open up a web browser and go straight to PayPal and check it that way. Never, ever go through a link from an email that tells you to click here to check on something. Other examples. This is a fairly recent trick. If you happen to have a Gmail account, a lot of folks with Gmail were getting emails saying, hey, look at this picture from my recent vacation. And most folks get an email with a picture. They don't think twice about clicking that picture. What's the risk? It's just a picture. But if you clicked on the actual link, instead of displaying the picture, it pops up a little login prompt to your Google account. And if you type in your information here, it's right at this moment, they're stealing your information. So the big thing to remember with this particular attack is if you're in your web browser, always look to the top. Look up at the address line. Look in the upper left-hand corner. When you're on a real website, it's a legitimate website, and the data between the website and your location is encrypted, you'll see HTTPS for secure. You will see a little lock there. And then furthermore, you can see this is accounts.google.com. If you actually hovered in this particular instance, you would see not what we have here at the bottom. You would see something like this, data:text, HTML. And what this is actually doing is running a script. So just be careful, something like that. We look a little further down the list. Again, remember one of the examples I highlighted for you is the hackers are going to try to get you to act. One of the ways they're going to try to get you to act is to make you think there's something serious happening right now. So one of the things we see happen quite a lot is you visit a web page. While you're on the web page, they pop up a window, something like this. And it makes you think that you've been infected, and it makes you think this is your security software. Well, if you look at this, this is Windows 7. This is software from Windows 2012. Most folks have a standard antivirus solution. Become familiar with what solution your business is using. You know, typically it's not going to be the older generation software referencing something from 5 years ago. If you look at this screen, you'll notice the entire screen is a call to action, right? It has all these places where you can update now, scan now, risk, your security level is low. At this particular point, if this pops up, you're not infected. But if you click on anything on this whole page, it's an entire button. If at that time, it's going to try to download something. So if you get something like this, biggest recommendation I can give you is close this window, click the X, or just remember, hold down the Alt key on your keyboard and hit F4. Hold Alt F4, that will close the window. If you've ever gone to a website, you see a whole bunch of windows popping up at once, Alt F4, you can easily close all those windows. Some more examples. Remember, call to action again. They're trying to make you feel like you've got to do something now. So you come to a website. This is not unusual. A bunch of different windows pop up. Congratulations, you've won a free computer. Special is going to end in a couple hours. Again, don't fall for any of these. Hit the X or just go through Alt F4 multiple times, close all of these windows. The beginning of the year, right around tax time, it's always the case that the hackers are going to take advantage of the season, of the time, whether it's an incident in the news or whether it's tax time, they're going to take advantage of the scenario. So if you look here, this is an example maybe coming from the IRS. First of all, we know the IRS is a gov website. This is gov.com, so we know something's wrong there. But just keep in mind that you can go home today with your Hotmail or your Yahoo account, and you could actually set up and say, my reply to email is any address in the world. So there is no hacking skill at all required to send out an email to anyone and make it appear like it's coming from whitehouse.gov or IRS at gov.com. Anyone can do that. Of course, if you reply to one of these erroneous emails sent out, it's not going to go back to the hacker. It is going to go back to the originator. So what I'm saying here is anyone can pretend to be anyone else when they send out an email. This is probably the #1 thing our help desk gets questions on. When hackers do something like this, where they get your email address and they send out a bunch of emails as you, when folks reply to it, you're going to get the reply. And you're going to assume that people have hacked into your email because you're getting a bunch of replies. Just remember, getting replies to emails you didn't send does not mean you've been hacked. It's a common thing out there. Looking here at this again, looking at some of the other things. Again, this is the IRS. They know everything about you. They do not send emails out like this. They're not going to be asking for confidential information. If you got anything like this, just close it. If you got questions, call them up. Don't click on it. Other examples, banking examples. This one comes up, something like this. Just remember, hover over the link, and you'll see the actual location that this is going to take you to. Okay, those were different. That was the first line of defense that we want to talk about. Remember when we talked about ransomware, unless you're going to pay the ransom, if you have not backed up your data's gone. That's the data on your corporate network. That's the data that's on your home network. And for most folks, that's worth quite a lot. It's priceless. You cannot recover it. So your business, I'm sure you're backing up the network. If you're at home, sign up for some data protection package. You know, Carbonite's out there. There are many other web backups, iCloud. All these vendors have backups. Just make sure that you have some copy of your data. All hard drives, even if you don't get malware, all hard drives are mechanical devices. They all eventually wear out. And when they do, you want to make sure you haven't lost your data. So, okay, let's talk about a little bit about passwords. #1 thing with passwords is do not use words found in the dictionary. #1 thing that we find at SSE is folks are going to use a family name, a birth year, a pet's name, something like that. Just remember that there are tools out there that can search the entire dictionary in just minutes. So by using a word in the dictionary, you make it easy for a hacker to come in and hack your account. We were in a room, I'd ask for a show of hands. How many folks reuse passwords? Generally, 75% of the people admit to it, and the other 25% don't. Most folks are reusing passwords across multiple accounts. So remember, if your computer at home gets hacked or your email gets hacked, most folks are using their email to register with their bank and all these other accounts. So if your home computer email gets hacked, hacker's going to go through there and they can find all the other accounts that you have registered with. It's very easy for them then, knowing that one user account password, to go try to log in to that bank or try to go log into that financial institution. So the best simple thing, don't reuse passwords. If you're going to reuse passwords, maybe you create some password, maybe a 1 password set just for your financial institutions, and you don't use it anywhere. You don't register it anywhere. You just use it for logging in. If you have multiple passwords, you don't write them down, consider using a third-party password manager. It's going to manage the passwords for you, like LastPass or 1Password. Use complexity. Complexity is the idea that you're going to have a capital letter or some other symbol in here. If we talk to hackers and talk about their hacking tools, it's a well-known fact that semicolons, if you can use them, typically are not something at the top of a password hacker's list. So having a semicolon in your password can go a long way. Again, unique password for work. Change your passwords. Quarterly would be great. We generally advise our clients, change your passwords at a frequency of something other than never. And then here's an interesting little statistic. You'll notice here you've got 5 characters. If I were to use a cracking program and you had a 5-character password, to try every variation of 5 letters, A through Z, with all the numbers and the other variables, it only takes about 16 minutes. By adding one single letter to your password goes from being able to be cracked in 16 minutes to 5 hours, to 3 days, to 4 months, to 26 years, to centuries. So the big takeaway here is make sure all your passwords are 9 characters or more. And if they say to you, hey, we have 2-factor authentication, turn that on. That's the idea that if I'm a hacker and I get your account, maybe I want to change your password so I can lock you out. 2-factor authentication is going to require me to use some other device besides your password. You know, typically this might be, you know, sending an SMS message to your cell phone. But by having password and a cell phone separate, it's many times more difficult. If I were to give you a suggestion, I would say take a sentence, any sentence, right? I am, or let's say this was I instead of we, I am going into the city tonight for dinner. You could just use I, A, G, I, T, C, T for dinner, exclamation point. If somebody saw you type this password, that's not a word. That's not going to be easy to remember. So pick something like a sentence, pick the first letter. People won't be able to remember it. That's going to be a good password. Make sure it's longer than 9 characters. Secure your passwords. Just general things. We come and we're looking for passwords. We're going to look under your keyboard or look on your wall there. Don't write down your passwords. Do not send them via email. Don't tell folks your password. Never use the remember password. If you use the remember password, there's the possibility that if someone hacks into your phone or some other device, they're going to be able to see whatever you've saved. So I just normally demo this in person, but like for example on your iPhone, come to an iPhone and you click your settings and you click Safari and you click password. If you've told your phone to save passwords, click password, type in your PIN, you're going to be able to see every password, every account that you have. Somebody took over your iPhone or your mobile device, they could potentially have access to this too. So going back over here, never use your corporate and personal together. And if you do suspect something, first thing I recommend you to do is change your password. It doesn't hurt to do that. Okay, moving on. Open Wi-Fi. If you're going to use Open Wi-Fi is again at Starbucks or St. Louis Bread Company. It's somewhere other than a private company. It's a place where a bunch of strangers can come in and use it. That would be called Open Wi-Fi at the airport. If you have to use Open Wi-Fi, first recommendation is don't go to any sites that require personal information like your username and password. I personally, at an airport or Open Wi-Fi, wouldn't even log in to an email account. If you have to, run VPN software. If you have a corporation or a business, they may have VPN there. If you don't have VPN, you can go buy your own. There's a website called IPVanish.com. They'll sell you, you can search for coupons out there. They'll give you 60% off, and for a year and $60, you can have your own VPN software. If you don't have the VPN software, you haven't bought your own, but you need to log in somewhere, Just make sure you don't log in with the username and password unless you have a secure link. You know you have a secure link if it says HTTPS for secure. Has the little lock there. If there's no lock, don't type it in. And just remember that for $100, I can buy a Wi-Fi pineapple. I can buy it out there on the internet. I can come in and turn it on. And when you come in with your laptop or mobile device, and your home network is, maybe AT&T 968, your device, without knowing it, is going to say, hey, am I at home? Is AT&T 968 here? And my device, my Wi-Fi pineapple, is going to say, yep, that's me. I'm AT&T 968. And then your device is going to connect to me. You think you're on a secure network. And now, if you go log into your email, you're going through my computer. So I can log everything that you type. I can capture all your passwords. A lot of folks do this. They're going to set up fake little sites for like Facebook and Twitter and the common email accounts. So just be mindful and careful on that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the final thing that we really recommend, and that is test your users. We have folks that say, well, my users wouldn't do this. We have one client, they're a financial institution. A year ago, they decided to do a little test. So they hired an outside company. Company came in, and when they were hired, the CEO of the company hired them, sent the final contract via email. What this particular company did is they sent an email to all users in the company and made it look like the email came from the CEO of the company. And the email simply said, dear team, as you know, security is near and dear to my heart. I want to make sure that our business is secure. I ask each and every one of you to have confirmed that you're using the highest level of security. I've included a link below that will test this out for us. I ask you all to have accomplished this by next Friday. In that organization, there were 36 employees. How many folks do you think clicked the link? Half, 18 people. They did training that year, and they did training the next year. This past year, they conducted another social engineering test, and instead of 18 people, only 2 people did it. And of course, those 2 people were new. So again, conduct a test, share the results with your team, train, and then test again. That's the best way moving forward. So that really concludes what I have here to say for you guys. I've got my name, phone number, email address if you have questions you'd like to ask later.
Thank you all for joining us. Have a great rest of the day.